Upper Iowa was coming off a 35-30 win against Wayne State of Nebraska in its home finale a week ago, and they're preparing now, are the Peacocks, to play the fourth-ranked team in the nation, the Sioux Falls squad, on the road. Kickoff is at noon on Saturday from Bob Young Field in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. Pre-game coverage beginning at 11:30 a.m. here on AM 950 KOEL with Joe Stasi on the call. And Joe, thanks for your time again this week.
Oh, it's my pleasure, Elwin. And again, this happens to be one of the weeks where I am on the road driving, so I'm trying to keep everybody safe here. We'll see how this goes today. I don't have my notes in front of me, but again, Upper Iowa wants to give you a big pat on the back, and everybody in the organization a big thanks, and a pat on the back again, a high five, whatever you want to call it, for giving Upper Iowa some time each and every week. It's a pleasure having the distinction of being the only NCAA Division II program in the state of Iowa, and it's always fun to talk to you, Elwin.
Well, as I mentioned, a 35-30 victory in the home finale last week as the Peacocks sent out their senior class on a winning note, winning that final home game. And I guess, Wayne State has always been a team that Upper Iowa matches up well with. This has been a series that in recent games has been decided by 7 points or less, and the two teams didn't disappoint last Saturday.
No, they came in, and as you said, it is always a pretty even matchup. They came in 5 games apiece in the series. So now Upper Iowa, with the win, has the rubber match, and 6-5 all-time versus Wayne State. It was a thrilling, nail-biting win. Wayne State, it's a senior day at Harms Eyesight Stadium. Upper Iowa built I believe it was an 11-point lead in the third quarter. They held on with a nail-biting goal line stand to win in just thrilling fashion. Wayne State was down 35-30. Upper Iowa led the whole game, and Wayne State was down 35-30. Wayne State had one final drive left in them. They started deep in their own side of the field, put together a real nice drive, aided by a couple of Upper Iowa personal fouls. They got all the way down to first and goal at the 4-yard line with less than a minute 30 to play, and it was just a gutsy performance on senior day, and a lot of seniors were involved. And I don't have, if I had my notes in front of me, I'd be able to mention them all, but I don't. So I won't even begin to start mentioning names, but the defensive side of the football held on and came down to fourth and goal from the 2-yard line, and Upper Iowa did the defensive line, and linebackers put pressure on the Wayne State quarterback, Zach Osborne, and he threw it away. And Upper Iowa held on for the big win. Dimitri Morales at quarterback. Well, I tell you what, this is a senior. He was a 2-year player for Upper Iowa now. If folks remember, the California Junior College Player of the Year, his sophomore year in junior college. And came to Upper Iowa last year, had a terrific start to the season, and 7 games in, I believe it was against Winona State. He broke his foot, and he was out. So, there were a lot of expectations for him coming into the season this year to lead this Upper Iowa team back to a winning season, and possibly even more. But Dimitri Morales, who is a really smart kid, he's going to be a doctor. He's going to med school after Upper Iowa. He didn't measure up to his expectations this year, and the turnover bug just bit him hard. He had coming into last week's ball game 14 interceptions, and he was benched a couple of games. They decided to put Dimitri in the football game this week, and the Upper Iowa Tom Shea and the rest of the staff thought he gave Upper Iowa their best chance, and he had one of his best games of his career. He threw for 265 yards, 3 touchdowns. I know he had around 22 completions, and just made numerous plays with his feet, his athletic ability. He rushed for close to 100 yards and ran for another one, and he just was tremendous. Our offensive line did a great job all afternoon, and Derek Portis, the slash part of our running back, ran for over 100 yards. I believe he had 160-some yards. And Ryan Parmley, of course, the Delhi had another terrific day running the football in the backfield. So it was a great team win, and Upper Iowa won the turnover battle, and every time Upper Iowa's won the turnover battle this year, they've won the football game.
Upper Iowa's now 3-6 overall, 2-3 in the Northern Sun Conference, but the competition really increases 2 or 3 levels here this week on the road at number 4 Sioux Falls. This is a team, as you know, Joe, that is unbeaten on the year at 9-0. They've won 9 straight games, obviously. They're 5-0 in Northern Sun Conference play, coming off a huge win on the road at Minnesota State last Saturday, a 24-14 victory, which I understand was the first in program history for Sioux Falls. And this is a team, you look at them numbers-wise, they're scary. They're right now ranking 3rd in NCAA Division II in total offense and 2nd in rushing. That's some pretty heady numbers that Upper Iowa's going up against this weekend.
Boy, you know what? And you go up to that stadium in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, and they were NAIA before they became NCAA Division II members in the NSIC in 2011, and they had 4 or 5 national championships at the NAIA level, and they haven't skipped a beat. They're 43-10 now in the NSIC. They've assured themselves at least a share of the overall title for the first time. As you said, they're coming in very, very confident off a 24-14 win over Minnesota State Mankato, the first time they've ever done that. They have 9 consecutive wins, 23 years in a row. That's the 5th longest in NCAA all divisions history, and they're just stacked. It's crazy how good they are. And they have offensive linemen and defensive linemen that very well could be at the next level. They choose to go to University of Sioux Falls because they won a national championship on their resume, and it's a pretty good school. But they have a terrific running back, and his name is Max Mickey. He has rushed over 1,300 yards this year, 9.8 yards a carry. Their offensive line, I think you and I could run for 4 yards a carry, Elwin. They just push people around. They rank 1st in the NSIC, and in total offense of 500 and some odd yards a contest. I think it was 550 a contest, and they run for 350 yards a game. They have a terrific veteran quarterback. Luke Papillion is his name, and he's one of the best in NCAA Division II. So, you remember the story with David and Goliath, right? We're going to see if Upper Iowa has a sling and a stone as they stand and face the sound of 1,000 warriors this weekend in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. And just like David, he had to throw that stone perfectly and hit Goliath in the middle of the noggin to knock him down. It's fun to play the standard by which to be measured by, and my hopes are that Upper Iowa can play a near perfect game, because that's what they're going to need to do to stay in this football game.
Well, Minnesota State, Mankato, they've won a couple national championships here in recent years. Also, Minnesota Duluth has won a few national titles in recent years, both from the Northern Sun Conference. When you rank number 4 in the nation, as the Cougars are, those expectations have to be there as well. How do you assess their chances in terms of maybe playing for that national championship this year?
I think they're better than Northwest Missouri State, who's ranked number 1 in the country. Northwest Missouri State just is a perennial power each and every year, and so I don't know how these coaches vote, but I just think that if they have an undefeated record, they're going to be number 1. From the people that I've talked to, the coaches that I've talked to, the little bit of film and game time that I've seen with Northwest Missouri State, the University of Sioux Falls, South Dakota squad, it all starts with the big uglies up front. We can talk about quarterbacks, we can talk about running backs, we can talk about wide receivers, and I forgot to mention Jalen Amos had a great game for Upper Iowa last week against Lady State, caught 164 yards and a touchdown. But we can talk about these guys all day long, but it all starts with the guys up front that give your quarterback time to throw the football, that create the holes for your running backs. And then conversely, on the other side of the football, it's the defensive linemen that put pressure on the quarterbacks and that make the tackles up front, that stop offenses from gaining big yardage on first down. I like their chances. To answer your question, I think they'll be in the championship game, and my prediction is that the University of Sioux Falls, South Dakota Cougars will be national champions this year.
This is one of those games, if it's early on, you want to play that good caliber because they say it's a good measuring stick for how you match up. Now you're playing them really in Week 10 when the season's already gone by. Joe, if Upper Iowa does play well, even if they don't get a victory this Saturday, if they play well from a confidence standpoint, what does that do for the program?
Well, you know what? Anytime you play the standard by which to be measured by, there's a lot of eyeballs on you. So, when you're recruiting kids, they pay attention to that stuff. You come out of this thing, and you play for your seniors too. I mean, these seniors have put their toil, sweat, determination in this program for, some of them 5 years. Mark McTaggart comes to mind. What it does for the program is it puts you on a different level where, hey, you know what, we've heard Upper Iowa's a pretty good football team, and, man, they certainly must be if they can hang with University of Sioux Falls, South Dakota Cougars and come up with a win. So anytime you compete well against a national powerhouse, it puts you in a good light. And I hope for the seniors, and I always hope for the seniors as every season winds down, that they can walk out of this ball game with their head held high. There's nothing that hurts worse living vicariously through these young guys sometimes, that when you see these seniors, and I've seen it a couple times because it seems like we always end up our schedule with Minnesota State and University of Sioux Falls, South Dakota. I've seen a couple 72-6 ball games, and that's no way for a senior to end his career.
Should be an interesting matchup here this weekend. On Saturday at noon is the scheduled kickoff at Bob Young Field in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, as the Peacocks head on the road to take on the Cougars of Sioux Falls, ranked number 4 nationally. It'll be Joe Stasi on the call. Best of luck and have a good call this Saturday, and thanks again for your time.
Hey, Elwin, again, thanks for your time. You're pro. Everybody at Upper Iowa loves your program, and thank you so much.